Welcome to Newtown's World. I'm your host, Gary Davis. In 2010, a group of local residents wanted to make a difference for the arts in Newtown. The result of their efforts debuted in December 2010 as the Newtowner, a fantastic quarterly arts and literary magazine featuring fiction, poetry, essays, columns, features, and artwork by local literary, visual, and performing artists from the Western Connecticut region and beyond. The Newtowner is a community-based literary and arts project staffed by local volunteers. And I'm excited to have three members of the Newtowner editorial team with us today. They are Darren Wagner, who's the art director and photographer, Georgia Monaghan, editor-in-chief, and Lisa Schwartz, my friend, poetry editor. So thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
So it's amazing, but the Newtowner is now 1 year old. Your anniversary should be coming out soon. We'll talk about that later. But how was your first year as a publication?
I mean, really amazing. I mean, I can hardly believe, I don't know about Lisa and Darren, but I can't believe, we've put out 4 issues and we're about to put out our 5th. The year has gone so fast and it's just been a wild ride and just so exciting to do something so collaboratively in the community.
That's great. So what was the inspiration behind creating the Newtowner? Because really a lot of people aren't trying to create magazines as much as they used to, even though there's still a lot out there.
Exactly. The inspiration was partly I've only lived in Newtown for about 4 years, and every year that I've lived here, as each year went by, I was just amazed at the amount of talent, cultural talent. Everyone I seemed to meet was an artist or a sculptor or an actor or was writing a novel, and you'd go to a parent-teacher meeting and the PE teacher is writing a book, and it was just incredible, and it just I just didn't get that sense about all the other towns. At the same time, I was a part of 2 writers' groups. In one as a peer writing group, and I was also a facilitator, a teacher in another writing group. And in one of them, one person had said, what, we should start a literary journal. Because it's as writers, it's one of the best ways to get your foot in the door, to get started as a writer. And there was something just went off in my head, just something exploded, and just the possibilities were just keeping me awake at night. And I realised that it was something that would need a team of people, and then I sort of put that together with realising the amount of cultural talent in Newtown, and thought that a cultural magazine for Newtown is something that hasn't been done before. And I thought if any town would support something like this, it would be Newtown.
And so far it's proving true.
Yes, absolutely.
So how did you pull together your editorial team?
First thing I did was I went to, because I had the idea, and the idea was percolating in my brain, and I realised this is not something you can do alone. This is something that needs a group of people. And I was facilitating a writing group, and I thought, okay, this is the test. I'll take it to my writing group, I'll pitch it to them. If they all just go, nah, it's over, it's done, it was an idea, and I move on. If they embrace it, okay, I have to do it. We have to go forward. And so I did. I pitched it to the writing group that I facilitate, which Lisa Schwartz is a member.
Okay, one connection.
And Lisa, you can tell us what happened after that.
Well, I think we were all sort of shocked that we didn't come up with the idea ourselves. It was really brilliant, and it was long overdue. And what was really interesting about it was that in our little group, and at the time we might have had 7 people. We had a person who was a graphics designer. We had a person who had done PR and marketing, and we had people who wrote fiction, people who wrote short stories. We had myself who, although I don't consider myself a poet, I do write poetry. And we had Georgia who spawned this idea and had the passion that sort of drove it. And we all jumped on board. I mean, I don't think there was a moment of hesitation from that very first night that she pitched the idea. It was an absolute yes. We're on board, and tell us what we have to do.
So that was a great group. You had your a group of editors right there in front of you. Now, where does Darren now fit into all this?
Well, I wasn't part of the group. I was still running my own business, doing photography in town, and obviously, the need for photography in a magazine comes up, and so I said yes. I would love to be part of this. Absolutely love to be part of this. So I came on board as a photographer in the beginning, initially.
And now you're doing all the help with the design
and
graphics,
exactly.
and all that.
As the magazine grew, and it grew rapidly, the amount of history that they were digging up, and me being passionate about being a visual person, and presenting it in the best, the written work that they're giving me, it wasn't being done justice if it was just thrown in. So I said, sure, I would love to come in as a graphic designer, work as art editor, and it's just grown from there. The amount of amazing people that I'm getting exposed to almost on a weekly basis, and being a photographer, it's just my pleasure to meet these wonderful, gifted, local artists and writers, and the one thing that I've noticed with most of them is that they are so talented, but they've got the worst photos, the worst portraits. So it was a real pet peeve of mine. So it was a great pleasure to come in and say, look, I love working with you, but we've got to get you a new headshot. We want to present you in the magazine fresh. We don't want to use, I know that you've been out of university maybe for 30, 40 years. We don't want to use that photo.
Even though maybe they wanted to use it.
They do want to use it. They really do want to use
a few
it.
executives who like to pull that trick as
they,
well.
They love those.
The fountain of youth is your headshot.
Exactly.
From 40 years ago.
Exactly.
But we're going to get into some of the how you put the visuals to the written word in the magazine in just a fantastic way. But I really want to get, first of all, when you're just trying to get it started, how challenging was it to actually start a magazine like this?
It was surprisingly, I wouldn't say easy, but it flowed. It seemed like I was chasing something that was moving ahead of me rather than pushing something, uphill. It really felt like the right thing at the right time, and I would. Like we were being approached, like it literally was just an idea that I'd pitched to a writing group. It was like a week later I got a phone call from Nancy at the Newtown Bee wanting to do an interview about the new magazine. I'm like, what new magazine? It's an idea. It's this crazy idea in my head. And so it was like, okay, they want to do an interview. We need a website. We need to do this. We need to do that. And there was just this momentum, and people just popping. Then then it really expanded beyond the writing group. Once we had a website and we had our first story in the Bee, people were finding that story online overseas. We had Newtown residents now living in Norway contacting us.
I saw the video on your website.
Yes, Brigitte Sorensen saying, I started the Newtown Arts Commission. I helped start it. I can't believe you're doing this. I want to be part of it. How can I help? I'm going to be back in the summer. We had an editor who was the editor of Syracuse's literary journal, was moving to Newtown. She wanted to come on board. We had part of the team from the writing group that were telling their friends, and my friend just happens to have been the copy editor for the Yale Review and would love to be part of the team. And just these incredibly, I'd look at their resumes, and
it's quite incredible.
My jaw would just, hit the table. Just the quality of people, and every time we did a new interview, we'd have a new person coming forward saying, "I want to be part of it."
So. It sounds like there was a great reception from those with an artistic bent here in Newtown.
Yes.
From a broader standpoint, when the first issue came out and subsequent issues, what kind of reaction have you been getting from the community in general as they learn about the Newtowner?
It's just so enthusiastic, and just as more, because people are still learning about it. There is still You know, I'll go to a school, I'll speak at the library, and I'll ask, who has seen it before? And half have. There's still those people that don't know about it. And as they as they pick it up, I just love looking at their faces because they're just so amazed at the quality, visually and literarily.
The arts magazine is not necessarily alive and thriving in a lot of places. You've made it so here in Newtown, and I'm wondering how people have reacted to this, and how important an artistic outlet has this become for those who have known about it, both here in Newtown, but more broadly in the state and in different parts of the world.
It's such an important art outlet. And as much as print, newsprint is having a real challenge, but actually the research I've done, magazines have actually expanded over the last 5 to 10 years, and especially niche magazines. News magazines not. News is sort of, has been really challenged by, the internet and the digital revolution. But there's still this, incredible desire for people to have something tangible that they can hold and, they can get in their comfy chair and, really enjoy. And both from artists that that are approaching us, dying to be featured in the magazine, because of the quality of the printing, we can reproduce their art the way it was meant to be seen. If in newsprint you just can't see those vivid colours. And then our readers, are just embrace it and tell us that they've got all 4 on their coffee table, and our readers are just so proud to display it in their homes.
So another interesting feature is poetry. Again,
Yes.
Poetry is something that is still around and very popular in many respects, but not from a general public standpoint. So how important was it to get poetry engaged? I know, Lisa, you're the poetry editor, so how hard is it to actually find the level of quality in the poetry you want to include in the publication?
Well, and I'm going to give a quick pitch. I get an enormous amount of submissions. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of submissions from the local community. So I'd like to pitch it because this is a local show, that if you're out there and you write, please don't hesitate, because I get submissions from all over the world. I'm right now dealing with an author that we're going to publish who lives in Glasgow. I get writing from Africa. I get writing from Indonesia. But I don't get any, I shouldn't say I don't get anything. I don't get as much as we had hoped from the Newtown community, and that was one of our goals, one of our striving features of the Newtowner, was that we wanted to somehow showcase the literary arts in Newtown. And I know there are poets out there because I've been in writing groups with them. So I would urge everyone who likes to write to please send me their work. And the other part of your question, how hard is it to find good work? There's the good and the bad, and poetry, like any other literary work, is very subjective in nature. And I try to be open-minded. I don't look at who the writer is. I don't look at male, female. I just read the words, and if it moves something in me, it gets shortlisted, and then I review it and relook at it, and we go back and forth a number of times with the various editors, and we make what we hope is an objective decision in the end. But it's a wonderful process, and poetry is making a renaissance. I think poetry is going to be very big in the next generation, because kids are into the poetry slams. And
Right.
Yeah.
They're very popular. The high school has an annual poetry slam
Yes.
that does quite well.
Right.
In terms of the other types of fiction or writing that you're looking for in the magazine, again, are you having the same situation as poetry?
I guess so. We're getting our website is getting picked up so well throughout the whole world, and we actually have on our, I think it's on our main page, no, on our one of the pages,
Yeah,
on the main page.
The main page.
Right down the bottom, we have this little map of the world, and if you click on it, it shows you where our hits are coming from. And there's not a continent that we don't have hits on. So we're really getting picked up, which is fantastic. But we do, part of our mission is to celebrate our local talented authors, artists, writers, performers. So we really do encourage more of that. But we have showcased work from a lot of local authors, just some really, hidden gems. Like the Hawleyville postmaster writes poetry. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
And that sort of thing just makes me so happy that we can kind of dig up these people that people don't know, that people behind desks at the post office are actually in their spare time are writing poetry, and we have the ability to share this with the whole community.
That's fantastic. So how do you decide what goes into each issue? How do you balance out, like what do you try to have in there, and how do you balance it out?
That's a great question. We have a poetry editor, obviously. We have a fiction editor. We have a creative non-fiction editor, and we have a features editor. And then we have our youth editors. So we have, half a dozen at least people that are responsible to select work in their particular areas of responsibility. So it's not just one person who, it's not just me as editor-in-chief deciding what goes in. And that's part of the thing that I love, because all those different editors come from totally different backgrounds, different ages, different nationalities, and so they all bring their own sensitivities and perceptions and aesthetic talents to their particular section, and we get a whole variety, and I love that sort of eclectic quality that the Newtowner has. And I don't, I've never sort of said to any of the editors, no, I think you should, think again. I totally trust them to choose, in their particular area. And then sort of as editor-in-chief, I'm able to, sometimes I'll see something and I'll think, oh, we should publish that. And I sort of, kind of have the wild card that, at any point I'll just say, oh yeah, we're going to, no one else picked it, but I'm picking it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, editor-in-chief, right?
Yeah, and with the features, we have a sort of a features policy. Our goal is to showcase a good balance of writers, artists, performers, musicians, so all the arts. So it's not all writers, it's not all artists. We really want to keep that balance, that variety. And then we also want to keep a balance between local and non-local. So we want every issue to have local content, local writers, artists showcased. But then Newtowners aren't just interested in Newtown; they're also interested in the wider community. And so we're just so excited when we can, for instance, Lisa contacted nationally known author Wally Lamb, and was able to do an interview, and we'll be featuring that interview in one of our next issues. So we're trying to, we want to be culturally diverse, we want to have a balance of male-female, but the beauty of it is the collaboration, and all these different editors selecting things that speak to them and then being able to share it all together.
And one of the things I want to talk about now is not only the quality of the writing and the articles that are in the publication, but how you mesh that then with the design and the art elements. And we have a few things we want to show, and Darren, maybe you can talk about some of the decisions behind it. Recently, in one of the issues, you did a story about Garner Correctional Facility and some of the writings of those inmates there. And I wanted to understand how you decided to do the art that accompanied that article. It's quite interesting, the power of the passion.
Yeah, the power and the passion. I mean, it's an amazing piece. It was a wonderful opportunity. We actually got invited into Garner Correctional Facility. Me, my wife, and we went in not knowing what are these guys doing? They were doing a creative writing program. I wanted to come in with my camera, of course, as the photographer. At that time, that's all I was a photographer.
Sure.
We met a little bit of resistance bringing a camera into a correctional facility. As we entered, there's a giant sign. It's like a $10,000 fine for bringing cameras in. So production crews, cameras really aren't welcomed. But they said, look, we will make an exception. This is a great program. We want to have you guys in as honored guests.
So how did you decide to pick that particular image for that piece?
Well, I was given strict guidelines, literally, that there was to be no faces.
Ah, okay.
So as a photographer,
necessity.
Yes.
Prompted ingenuity.
Exactly. So there was to be no faces. So any of the articles, we can't, as much as we would love to. I mean, the faces to me tell the story. The eyes tell the story. So
in this case, was the tattoos.
So in this case, it's the tattoos. A lot of them.
Also, at this stage, we actually had our this was our first issue,
right.
And our founding art director was Tracy Hubbard, and so she actually selected the photos for that particular story.
Interesting.
And it was quite a challenge because Darren had taken, I don't know, 500 or more images. And it was up to her to go through.
There's another one I want to go to because I want to make sure we get them in. This is one that was a profile or an interview with Justin Scott, who's a local artist, and it's quite an interesting rendition of a profile photo of him.
Sure,
Maybe we can bring that up.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Justin, again, an amazing, accomplished writer, local writer, but his work is national. Gave me 10 minutes. He didn't like to have his photo taken. Said, look, I've been down this route. I've had my photo taken. He was a busy man. He said, I'll give you 10 minutes. So we ran in, did a couple shots, 2 or 3 shots, some beautiful portraits of him. But I sensed that there was a lot more to him. And instead of just putting one photo in or a couple photos, I thought I wanted to do something a little bit differently. This image of Justin Scott's actually a typographic portrait composed of every pseudonym he's used, every title of his book. So there is no real photo to it. It's just words that he's created over his lifetime. So again, kind of me paying homage to him through words, creating a portrait of him. So when we get these guest artists in, we want to do something a little bit differently. We want people to see them a little bit differently, and have them maybe take a second look and go, wow, he lives here. I can buy his book.
Right.
So we're helping give exposure to them.
So it's amazing, the potential and what it's actually doing, and the potential, obviously, as you grow as the Newtowner. So one of the things we talked about earlier was the difficulty of getting local residents to submit their writings, poetry, photography, to the Newtowner. So how if somebody wants to do it, how do they go about doing it?
It's very, very easy. That you just go to the website, which is www.thenewtownermagazine.com, and on the submissions page, you just go to the section you're interested in submitting, whether it's art or fiction or poetry, and you simply upload it there. And we have a fantastic submissions manager that we use, and it makes it easy for all the different editors to access that from remote locations. And so, it's all online. People don't have to type things out or mail them. It's a very simple process.
And, adults are welcome, but also you're doing quite a lot with young people.
Exactly.
Through your junior editors and other things.
That's right. I originally come from a teaching background, as well as a freelance journalism background, and I taught media studies, and so part of me, will always be a teacher, and will really identify with young people and really see the importance in giving them a platform to share their work. And as well as noticing the amazing talent in the adult community, I was very aware that the young people in this town were just, just amazing. Just had amazing talents and were doing amazing things. And so for me, it was really important to have a section devoted to the youth of this area and beyond. And we actually got them a group together, and then we give them the editorial responsibilities, just like an adult editor. So they're not just sort of working as assistants or interns. They are the ones making the editorial decisions. They are learning how to do editing, under the sort of mentorship of the adult writers around them. They're choosing the artwork, the youth artwork that goes in. They came up with the name of the section, Youth Expressions.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
So you're 1 year old, moving into now, you're almost into toddler years here.
Yes.
Age two. What do you have in store for us in 2012? There's a couple of things happening. There's a mass ball that will be occurring in February, and then some other things in the fall, or also at the same time, I guess, in your next issue.
That's right. We're celebrating our anniversary with a Venetian Carnivale-inspired masked ball, and that has also drawn all kinds of people to be part of that committee that don't have editorial writing talents, but people have come forward, like Phyllis Cortese said, "Oh, I want to be part of that committee," and she has all kinds of amazing talents in event organisation, and someone who is actually born in Venice, who has amazing background with the food, Italian food and Venetian food, has come forward. "Oh, I want to be part of that." So we have a committee working behind the scenes on a really exciting event. Our anniversary issue, we're going to be, to sort of celebrate our first year, we're going to be launching a whole collection of literary awards and competitions that will become an annual event. The Masked Ball will also be an annual fundraising event that we'll have every year. And we'll be having a fiction competition, a poetry competition that'll be international. And then we also have a poetry competition, solely for Newtown High School students. And Lisa and I have been working with Lee Keylock at Newtown High to develop a poetry competition that will be launching in the new issue, especially for them.
Well, it's fantastic, and it's been great having you all here. Congratulations on a
Thank you.
wonderful magazine. I'm going to subscribe. I'm sold. And if you have any interest in showcasing your writing or poetry in a fabulous publication, or you just want to have a great read, you can find more about the Newtowner online at thenewtownermagazine.com. You can also find the Newtowner at the CH Booth Library and other fine establishments around town. Just ask for it when you go in to see if it's there, and if they don't have it, tell them, why don't you? I want to thank you, Georgia, Lisa, and Darren, for all being here with me today. I want to thank our director, Neil, and our crew, Tom, George, Josh, and Tyler. And that's all the time we have for this episode of Newtown's World. I'm your host, Gary Davis. Thanks for watching. Until next time, live life well.